Hey everyone, welcome back to Haven's Kitchen. My name is Neil and today we're going to be making a golden rice pilaf. We love this recipe because it's literally gold on gold and gold, and this acts like a wonderful side dish to your roasted chicken, to your roast lamb chops, to a beautiful curry or anything in general. And personally, I love a pilaf. I just feel that every culture has something that's equivalent of a pilaf in its own way. For example, in the Middle East, it's called pilaf. From where I come, it's called a pulao. And I'm sure every culture has some way of calling it something, but I'm sure they make it in a very similar fashion to the way we're going to be making it today. If this recipe sounds like something you'd like to try, be sure to hit the subscribe button to never miss an update from the Haven's Kitchen cooking channel. For this recipe, all we're going to need is a large saucepan and nothing more. Making a pilaf is super technical, but it's not difficult at all. All you have to remember is toasting the rice properly in a medium of fat and then adding the correct water to rice ratio and you're all set. There's literally nothing more. And this is where I feel that a lot of people get confused, that they often don't get the water to rice ratio correct, or they don't toast their rice properly in a medium of fat, and that's why their rice turns out all sticky and gloopy. And let me tell you, the indicator for a good pilaf is that all kernels and all grains of rice are all separate, and you can literally see each one of them distinctively. So in front of me, I have some golden raisins, and I have some red wine vinegar. And I'm just going to add this red wine vinegar to the raisins to make like a quick pickled raisins. Then I have some saffron, about which I'm going to talk a little later. I have some little water to bloom that saffron. I have some minced shallots. I have some toasted almond slivers. I have some toasted cashews. And then, of course, I have my basmati rice in front of me. In general, I really love to use a turmeric tahini with this recipe because the turmeric tahini adds a lovely golden color to when the rice is cooked. And the rice just comes up looking so fluffed and so golden. It's perfect. So I have some golden raisins in front of me, and all I'm going to do is add this red wine vinegar to it and let this sit for a while. That's it. It's done. These are almost like candied raisins now, like berries, and which would make something that's traditionally called a berry pulao. It's very famous. You have these berries on top of the rice, which add this really nice burst of tanginess and citrusy flavor to the rice, and I think it works really well. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bloom my saffron. And this literally means pouring some lukewarm water or any temperature water over the saffron and just letting it sit for a while. You're slowly going to see that the saffron is going to impart all its color into the water and the water is going to turn gold. It's literally going to look like liquid gold. And I love saffron. I think people say that it's overrated, it's hyped, but I genuinely don't feel so. Saffron is so rare, and once you know where it comes from and how it's extracted, I think it makes it all the more special. So saffron comes from the flower called saffron crocus, and every strand of saffron comes from each individual flower. So every flower of the saffron crocus has one stigma or that little dandelion thread that you see in the middle of the bud. And when you extract that and when you dry it, that's when you get saffron. So one strand in here came from one saffron crocus flower. So if there are 10 strands of saffron in this, it literally took 10 flowers to get those 10 strands of saffron. So in front of me, I have basmati rice, and this is the gold standard of rice. To make anything where you need like loose, open strands of fluffy rice, I wouldn't suggest anything but basmati rice. Basmati rice gets its name from the word bas, which literally means the fragrance, and you can literally smell the rice fields. And this is amazing. So you see how the rice is not white, but it's got this yellowish hue to it. And this is how I can tell that the rice has been aged and it's really been matured over a period of time. And trust me, this is what's going to make our pilaf so special today. For the first step of making this pilaf, all we need to do is toast the rice in a couple of aromatics and a bit of fat. This process is called parching the rice, and it's a super important process. What this does is it makes sure that all the fat equally and evenly coats every grain of rice, which is just going to make sure that the rice doesn't stick together and it just comes out looking super fluffed up and super separated. Okay, so this is really important. I haven't soaked my rice, but I have made sure that I wash it, which literally means I just put it in a strainer and I just ran it under the cold water for a couple of minutes. And I didn't do it till the water ran clear, but I just did it to get rid of the excess starch that's on the rice. If you have starchy rice, or if you have more starch on the grains of your rice, it's just going to make sure that your rice is not fluffy and it's not individual or separated. It's just going to make your rice look super gloopy and super compact. So as you can see now that my rice is really starting to toast up well, I can smell it and you'll almost be able to see it as well. You can see some specks of the rice turning brown, and that's your sign that your rice has been well toasted and it's been well covered evenly in fat, and it's time to add your liquid. In this case, we're adding water, but you could add anything that makes you happy. You could add veg broth, you could add chicken stock, anything that helps you make your rice more flavorful and more aromatic. We use 2 cups of rice, and the ratio for making a perfectly cooked basmati rice is to just multiply that by 1.5 times. So since we use 2 cups of rice, the exact math would be for this to use 3 cups of water, and that's exactly how much I used. And the next step is just allowing this rice to come to a gentle simmer. We're going to add some salt to it. Once it comes to a simmer, we're going to put a lid on it, and we're just going to lower the heat, and we're going to let this cook slow and low for about 12 minutes. This is a very crucial step, because this is the only point at which you can season the rice. It's too late to season the rice when it's cooked, and at that point, you can't do much about the seasoning. Wow, look at that. So all the liquid's been absorbed by the rice. I know my rice is perfectly cooked at this stage. I can literally see every individual grain of rice. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the Bloom saffron water over this. I'm going to put my lid back on for about a minute. There it is. Our pilaf is ready, and just by looking at it and smelling it, I know our pilaf is perfect. I can smell the turmeric, I can smell the saffron, I can smell the shallots, and everything in this pilaf just looks and smells delicious. Now here's a trick. Whenever you make pilaf, and if you want to check whether your rice is perfectly done, don't use a spoon. Always use a fork. Whenever you use a spoon, you tend to mash the grains of the rice, and that's what ends up ruining the look of your pilaf. Always use a fork and just comb through the rice, just like this. I have some parsley and I have some mint. Both these flavors go really well with Middle Eastern cuisine, and they're going to break the color of the yellow that's in the rice, and I think the green is just going to pop. And there you have it. The pilaf is ready and it looks amazing and it smells delicious. So I added a couple of garnishes. I added the greens, I added the herbs, and you can smell the freshness of the herbs. You've got these toasty cashew nuts and toasted slivered almonds, and we've got the pop from the pickled raisins. So this is exactly what you need in a perfect plate for pilaf. If you enjoyed this recipe, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button to never miss an update from the Haven's Kitchen cooking channel. For the full recipe and the textable shopping list, click the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to always cook happy.